Captain Sarah Chen's consciousness returned slowly, like waves lapping at a distant shore. The cryopod seal broke with a soft hiss, releasing tendrils of frost into the dimly lit chamber. Her first breath in centuries burned in her lungs, sharp and metallic. Emergency lights pulsed a gentle blue rhythm across the curved walls of the horizon's cryobay, illuminating rows upon rows of pods stretching into the darkness. "Status report," she managed, her voice rough from disuse. "Welcome back, Captain Chen," responded ARIA, the ship's eye. "Current date is approximately 2,487 years after departure. We are in orbit around an uncharted planet in the Kepler 186 system. This is not our intended destination." Sarah's mind reeled. Nearly 2,500 years. The colony mission to Proxima Centauri had been planned for a 150-year journey. Something had gone terribly wrong. "Crew status?" she asked, forcing herself to focus on immediate concerns. "All 10,000 colonists are in stable condition. Initiating gradual revival sequence now. Life support systems operating at 89% efficiency. However, Captain, there are some unusual readings you should be aware of." Sarah pulled herself from the pod, her muscles protesting after their long dormancy. The artificial gravity seemed to be working correctly, at least. She made her way to the nearest console, her movements becoming steadier with each step. "Show me," she commanded. The display flickered to life, showing their position in orbit around a massive ringed planet. But it wasn't the planet's striking appearance that caught her attention. It was the regular geometric patterns visible on its largest moon. "Are those structures?" she asked, leaning closer. "Affirmative. I detect approximately 1,247 artificial constructions across the moon's surface. Many appear to be intact despite significant age. Additionally," Araya paused, something the eye rarely did. "Many of the structure's design patterns match theoretical models of human architecture." Before Sarah could process this information, Dr. Yuki Tanaka, the mission's chief scientist, emerged from her nearby pod. She stumbled slightly, catching herself against the wall. "Captain," she said, blinking rapidly as her eyes adjusted. "Why are we awake? This isn't Proxima Centauri." "No, it's not," Sarah replied, helping her friend steady herself. "We're about to have a lot more questions than answers." Over the next few hours, more of the command staff awakened. Engineering Chief Marcus Rodriguez confirmed that while the ship's main systems were functional, the faster-than-light drive had suffered catastrophic damage centuries ago, forcing ARIA to plot a new course to the nearest habitable system. Security Director James Walsh established teams to begin systematic revival of the colonists, while Medical Director Dr. Elena Santos organized triage stations to handle any complications from extended cryosleep. But it was Dr. Tanaka's preliminary analysis of the moon that captured everyone's attention during the first command briefing. "The structures aren't just geometrically similar to human architecture," she explained, displaying enhanced images on the briefing room's main screen. "They're built to human scale, with doorways and windows that would perfectly accommodate human bodies. And there's more." She zoomed in on one of the larger complexes. "These markings, they're not random patterns. They show similarities to proto-writing systems from Earth's ancient civilizations. But according to our dating estimates, these structures are at least 50,000 years old." "That's impossible," Rodriguez interjected. "Humans weren't capable of interstellar travel 50,000 years ago. We barely made it off Earth 2,500 years ago." "Apparently," Sarah said quietly, "there's a lot about our history we don't know." The next few days were a blur of activity as more colonists were revived. Sarah split her time between coordinating the revival process, reviewing Aria's logs from their centuries-long journey, and studying the mysterious moon. The ship's telescopes revealed more details with each pass: vast plazas, domed buildings, and most intriguingly, what appeared to be landing pads for spacecraft. But the greatest surprise came during a routine scan of the planet itself. Deep beneath the swirling clouds of the gas giant, something was emitting regular pulses of energy. The pattern was too precise to be natural. "It's a beacon," Rodriguez announced during the evening briefing, "and it's broadcasting on frequencies that our communication systems can understand. It's like it was meant for us to find it." Sarah stood at the briefing room window, watching the ringed planet slowly rotate below them. Their colony mission had been designed to establish humanity's first extrasolar settlement. Instead, they might have stumbled upon evidence that humans had already traveled to the stars millennia ago, and then somehow forgotten their own achievement. "Dr. Tanaka," she said, turning to face her command staff, "prepare a survey team. As soon as the primary revival process is complete, we're going down to that moon. If humanity built something there 50,000 years ago, I want to know why, and more importantly, what happened to them." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. They had expected to be pioneers, pushing into humanity's future. Instead, they might be archaeologists, uncovering humanity's forgotten past. And somewhere in the depths of that gas giant below, an ancient beacon was calling to them, waiting to share secrets that had been lost to time. Sarah looked at the faces of her command staff, seeing her own mix of anticipation and uncertainty reflected in their expressions. Whatever they were about to discover would change human history forever, assuming humanity still existed back on Earth after all this time. "One more thing," she added. "Until we know more about what we're dealing with, let's maintain strict quarantine protocols. The last thing we need is to wake up something that was better left sleeping." She couldn't have known then how prophetic those words would prove to be. The descent module shuddered as it entered the moon's thin atmosphere. Captain Sarah Chen watched through the viewport as the massive rings of the gas giant filled half the sky, their purple-tinged bands casting an otherworldly glow across the landscape below. Beside her, Dr. Tanaka monitored atmospheric readings while Security Chief Walsh checked his team's equipment one final time. "Atmosphere is holding steady," Rodriguez reported from the pilot's seat. "Composition is surprisingly Earth-like, just thinner. Surface temperature at the landing zone is -15 Celsius. The structures they'd observed from orbit now dominated the horizon, a sprawling complex of geometric shapes that reflected the starlight like polished obsidian. As they descended, Sarah could make out what appeared to be roads or pathways connecting the buildings, their surfaces still remarkably intact after 50 millennia. "Energy readings are spiking," Dr. Tanaka announced, her eyes fixed on her displays. "The structures, they're reacting to our presence." Sure enough, lines of soft blue light began tracing patterns across the building's surfaces, spreading like circuits coming to life. The effect rippled outward from their intended landing zone, awakening more structures across the landscape. "Set us down in the designated clearing," Sarah ordered. "Everyone remember your training. We treat this like any other first landing scenario." The descent module touched down with a gentle thud. Through their protective suits' filters, the air smelled crisp and metallic. Sarah led her team down the ramp, their boots leaving the first human footprints this world had seen in thousands of years. The nearest structure rose before them like a temple of black glass, its surface now alive with flowing patterns of light. Dr. Tanaka approached it cautiously, scanner in hand. "The material isn't glass or metal. It's some kind of programmable matter. And these patterns, they're responding to us specifically, to our presence." Walsh's security team established a perimeter while Rodriguez began setting up their base equipment. Sarah stood before the structure's entrance, a perfect arch that would have looked at home in any Earth city. "Dr. Tanaka, what do the writings say?" The scientist ran her hand along the symbols etched into the arch. To everyone's surprise, they began to glow at her touch, changing from static markings to flowing text. They're shifting, adapting, almost like the building is trying to communicate with us. A low hum filled the air, and the entrance slowly irised open. Cool air wafted out from the darkness within, carrying the scent of time and forgotten secrets. "Security team, Formation Alpha," Walsh commanded, his people moving into position with practiced efficiency. "Rodriguez, get those lights up." As they cautiously entered the structure, their helmet lights revealed a vast chamber that seemed to defy the building's exterior dimensions. The walls were covered in flowing symbols that responded to their presence, while elegant workstations and control panels lined the room, all sized perfectly for human use. "Look at this," Dr. Tanaka called out, approaching what appeared to be a central console. "These interfaces, they're designed for human hands. 5 fingers, optimal grip spacing. This wasn't just built by humans, it was built for continued human use." Sarah examined a nearby panel. "Can you interface with any of it?" "I'm attempting to." Dr. Tanaka's words cut off as she placed her hand on the console's surface. The entire chamber hummed to life, and a holographic display materialized in the center of the room, showing a 3-dimensional map of the galaxy. Thousands of points of light flickered to life across the projection, connected by lines that suggested travel routes or communication networks. And at the center of it all, pulsing with a steady light, was Earth. "My God," Sarah breathed. "It's a map of human civilization, not just one colony, an empire." The display shifted, focusing on their current location. Text began appearing in the air, ancient symbols transforming into modern language before their eyes as the facility's systems adapted to their presence. "Outpost Kepler," Dr. Tanaka translated as the text stabilized. "Established in the year." This can't be right. The date suggests this facility was built over 50,000 years ago. It's saying this was a research station, part of something called the first human expansion. "Why don't we have any record of this?" Walsh asked, his weapon lowered but ready. How could humanity forget something this massive? Before anyone could respond, a new sound filled the chamber. A series of musical tones that seemed to come from the structure itself. The holographic display shifted again, showing a message that made Sarah's heart skip a beat. "Welcome, descendants," Dr. Tanaka read. "Protocol Alpha is now active. You have restored the beacon. They are coming." "Who's coming?" Sarah demanded, but the display had already changed, showing multiple objects approaching the gas giant at impossible speeds. "Captain," Rodriguez's voice crackled over the comm. "The horizon is detecting multiple anomalies. Something's entering the system." Sarah looked at her team, seeing her own mix of excitement and apprehension reflected in their faces. They had come looking for humanity's past, but it seemed humanity's past had been waiting for them. "Everyone back to the module," she ordered. "We need to prepare for company." As they retreated from the chamber, the facility continued its awakening, sending cascades of light and energy across the moon's surface. Above them, the gas giant's rings shimmered with reflected starlight, while beyond them, something was approaching, something that had been waiting 50 millennia for humanity to return. Sarah knew that whatever happened next would change the course of human history forever. They had come seeking a new home among the stars, only to discover they were returning to one humanity had forgotten it had built. The objects emerged from hyperspace in a cascade of light, their crystalline hulls refracting starlight like cosmic prisms. Sarah counted 7 ships, each larger than the horizon, arranged in a perfect hexagonal formation around a central vessel. From the descent module's viewport, they looked like a constellation come to life. "Multiple signals incoming," Rodriguez reported, his fingers dancing across the communications panel. "They're broadcasting on." "Wait, these are Earth frequencies. Old ones." The central ship's transmission cut through their communication channels with crystal clarity. The language was unlike anything Sarah had heard before, musical and complex, yet somehow familiar. To everyone's surprise, Dr. Tanaka gasped. "That's ancient Sanskrit," she whispered, "but evolved, changed, like hearing Latin spoken by someone from the future." The facility's systems hummed to life around them, and suddenly the alien words transformed into clear English. "Children of Earth, you have awakened the beacon. We are the guardians. We have waited." Sarah exchanged glances with her command staff before responding. "This is Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth vessel Horizon. We didn't know anyone was waiting for us." "Of course not," the voice replied, now tinged with what sounded like sadness. "The forgetting was necessary. The seeding was necessary. But now you have returned, as was foretold." The massive ships began descending through the moon's atmosphere with impossible grace. As they approached, Sarah could see that their crystalline surfaces were etched with the same symbols they'd found in the facility. The central ship landed in a massive clearing near the ancient structures, its hull flowing like liquid metal to form a ramp. From within emerged beings that defied expectation. They were humanoid, but their skin had a subtle crystalline quality that caught the light. Their eyes were deep pools of swirling colors, and they moved with a fluid grace that suggested both great age and power. Most surprisingly, they wore uniforms that, while exotic, bore unmistakable similarities to Earth military designs. Their leader approached Sarah's team, raising a hand in greeting. "I am Guardian Artemis. We are what remains of the first Guardian fleet, and we are, in many ways, your oldest ancestors." Inside the facility's main chamber, Artemis revealed humanity's hidden history. The holographic displays showed Earth as it was 50,000 years ago, when humans first achieved faster-than-light travel. A golden age of exploration and expansion followed, leading to the establishment of thousands of colonies across the galaxy. "But we grew too quickly, reached too far," Artemis explained. "We encountered forces in the galaxy that viewed our expansion as a threat. The War of Dissolution began, and we were nearly destroyed." The displays showed massive battles among the stars, entire solar systems transformed into war zones. To survive, we made a choice. We used technologies we barely understood to seed modified humans across thousands of worlds, their memories and technology stripped away, allowed to evolve independently. Earth itself was reset, its population returned to a pre-industrial state. "You erased our history," Walsh said, his voice tight with anger. "You took away everything we had built." Artemis turned those cosmic eyes toward him. "We preserved humanity's essence by scattered it across the stars. Some seeds grew into new civilizations. Others remained dormant. Your Earth grew again, reached for the stars again. And now you have found your way back to one of our outposts." "But why?" Sarah asked. "Why maintain these facilities? Why wait for us?" "Because the threat that forced our dissolution never went away," Artemis replied. The holographic display shifted to show something massive moving through the dark spaces between stars. "They sleep now, as they have for millennia. But they will wake soon, and humanity must be ready." Dr. Tanaka, who had been analyzing data streams from the facility, suddenly straightened. "These genetic markers in our DNA, you've been guiding our evolution. Even during our reset state, you were preparing us." "Yes," Artemis acknowledged. "Your particular colony ship was not randomly knocked off course. We needed you here now. The Horizon's 10,000 colonists carry specific genetic markers we cultivated over generations. You are the key to reactivating humanity's forgotten legacy." Sarah felt the weight of history pressing down on her. "What exactly do you need us to do?" The displays showed new images, massive defensive installations hidden within the gas giant, fleets of ships in suspended animation, and technology beyond their current understanding. "Help us wake it all up," Artemis said. "Help us prepare. The old enemy stirs, and this time, humanity must stand united. All of humanity, from every seeded world." "You're talking about finding other human civilizations out there," Rodriguez said, catching on. "Built from other seeds you planted." "Precisely. Some have already achieved spaceflight. Others are still developing. All must be gathered, prepared, and remembered. The knowledge we preserved here is part of your heritage, all of humanity's heritage." A signal chimed from the facility's systems. One of the Guardian officers approached Artemis with an urgency that made Sarah tense. They spoke quietly in their musical language before Artemis turned back to the group. "We have detected quantum disturbances in a nearby sector," Artemis announced. "The enemy may be stirring sooner than we anticipated. We must accelerate our plans." The Guardian's eyes fixed on Sarah. "Captain Chen, you and your people face a choice. Will you help us reclaim humanity's legacy and face what comes?" Sarah looked at her team, seeing the same mix of determination and disbelief she felt. They had left Earth hoping to build humanity's future among the stars. Instead, they had stumbled into a war 50,000 years in the making. A war they never knew they were born to fight. She turned back to Artemis, her decision made. "Show us what we need to do." In the weeks that followed, Kepler's moon transformed from an archaeological site into a bustling military installation. The ancient facilities awakened one by one, their dormant systems responding to the presence of both the colonists and the Guardians. Sarah watched from the command center as another defense platform emerged from the gas giant's atmosphere, its massive form taking shape like a mechanical leviathan rising from the depths. "Neural interface training is proceeding faster than expected," Dr. Tanaka reported, her eyes glowing faintly with the crystalline implants the Guardians had provided. "Our people are adapting to the ancient systems as if they were born to them. In a way, I suppose we were." The holographic displays showed the progress of their preparations. Teams of colonists worked alongside Guardian technicians, their genetic heritage allowing them to activate and control technologies that had slumbered for 50 millennia. The horizon itself was being upgraded with crystalline components that seemed to merge seamlessly with the ship's existing systems. Another signal from the Arcturus sector. Rodriguez called out from his station. "Third seed colony, we've contacted this week. They're already fighting." Sarah moved to his console, watching the transmission. The images showed another human civilization, one that had evolved along a different path. Their technology was distinct, but their determination was familiar as they battled against massive shadow-like forms that seemed to bend reality around them. "The enemy is waking up faster than the Guardians predicted," Walsh commented, his new battle armor shifting colors to match his surroundings. "Those shadow ships are appearing in multiple sectors now." Artemis entered the command center, the Guardian's crystalline form now a familiar sight. "We've confirmed activity in 12 sectors. The enemy remembers their ancient defeat, and they're targeting seed colonies first. They seek to prevent humanity's reunification." Sarah studied the tactical display, watching as more distress signals appeared across the galaxy map. Each point of light represented a human civilization fighting for survival, unaware of their true heritage or the allies racing to reach them. "The neural interfaces are showing us more than just how to use the technology," Dr. Tanaka said, her voice distant as she accessed the ancient knowledge flowing through her implants. "They're giving us back our memories. Not just personal ones, racial memories stored in our DNA. I remember the First War." "We all do," Sarah replied softly. The implants had awakened something in all of them, echoes of their ancestors who had fought in the War of Dissolution. Combat techniques, tactical knowledge, and the burning memory of final defeat all surfaced like dreams becoming clear. A sudden alarm shattered the moment. Multiple quantum ruptures detected. Rodriguez shouted, "They're not just coming, they're here." The tactical display erupted with new signals as reality tore open around their system. Shadow ships poured through the breaches, their forms seeming to absorb both light and reason. The defense platforms responded immediately, ancient weapons powering up as Guardian ships moved to intercept. "All colonists to battle stations," Sarah commanded, her voice carrying through the neural network that now connected them all. "This is what we've been preparing for. Remember who we are, who we've always been." The first wave of shadow ships hit their defensive line like a tsunami of darkness. Guardian vessels locked into formation with platforms crewed by colonists, their combined technologies creating shields of crystalline light. The gas giant's rings became a battlefield as ancient weapons blazed to life. Through the neural network, Sarah felt every hit, every victory, every loss. 10,000 colonists fought as one, their inherited memories guiding their actions. The shadow ships were powerful, but they faced an enemy they thought they had destroyed. Humanity united, awakened, and ready. Multiple contacts approaching from the Arcturus sector, Rodriguez reported, his voice tight with concentration as he coordinated their defenses. Not enemy vessels, more seed colonies. They're coming to help. Sarah watched in awe as ships of various designs emerged from hyperspace. Humans from dozens of different evolutionary paths, drawn together by the ancient beacons and their shared heritage. Each fleet brought its own technologies, its own solutions, all flowing together like tributaries joining a mighty river. The shadow ships reeled before this unexpected union, their careful plans of isolation and destruction falling apart. Where they had hoped to find scattered, primitive colonies, they instead faced humanity in all its diverse glory, armed with both recovered technologies and 50,000 years of new innovations. They're retreating, Walsh announced as the shadow ships began to withdraw. But this was just a probe. They'll be back with greater numbers. And we'll be ready, Sarah replied, feeling the combined determination of thousands of minds linked through the neural network. Send word to all seed colonies we can reach. It's time for humanity to remember who we are, and to take back what was taken from us. Through the command center's viewport, she watched as more ships arrived. Vessels of crystal, metal, and materials she had no names for, all crewed by humans who had evolved along different paths, but shared the same indomitable spirit. The gas giants' rings glowed with the light of assembled fleets, while below, ancient facilities continued to awaken, preparing for the true battle to come. They had wanted to make history by establishing humanity's first extrasolar colony. Instead, they were about to remind the galaxy why humanity had been feared enough to require dissolution in the first place. The enemy had sought to keep humanity divided and forgotten. Now they would face humanity united, awakened, and very, very angry. The galaxy burned. Across 1,000 light years, battles raged as humanity's reunited civilizations fought against the enemy's shadow fleets. Sarah stood on the horizon's new crystalline bridge, watching as reports flowed in through the neural network. Each victory, each loss, resonated through the collective consciousness of their united species. Titan Fleet has secured the Orient sector, Rodriguez reported, his consciousness merged with the ship's enhanced systems. The shadow ships didn't expect them to use their gas mining technology as a weapon. Apparently, living under the ice of Saturn's moon for 50,000 years taught them a few tricks. That was the enemy's fatal mistake, Sarah realized. By forcing humanity to evolve along different paths, they had created not one opponent, but thousands of unique civilizations, each with their own solutions to surviving in the harshest environments the galaxy had to offer. Update from the Sirius Coalition, Dr. Tanaka called out. Her implants pulsed with incoming data. Their biomechanical ships have adapted to the enemy's phase-shifting technology. They're pushing them back across 3 sectors. The tactical display showed the state of the war. Humanity's combined fleets moved like a complex organism, each civilization contributing its unique strengths. The desert-adapted humans of Proxima used solar-powered energy weapons that turned stellar radiation into destructive force. The deep space colonies of the Carina sector deployed gravity weapons developed from generations of living in zero-G. Message from Artemis, Walsh announced. The Guardians have finished decoding the enemy's quantum signature. They're not just fighting us here. They exist partly in another dimension. That's why they appear as shadows. And that's why they feared us, Sarah said, understanding flooding through her. Humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology or our adaptability. It's our ability to perceive and affect multiple planes of existence. The ancient humans discovered this, and the enemy tried to destroy us before we could fully develop that potential. The neural network hummed with new information as this revelation spread across the United Fleets. Generations of studying their own unique environments had given each seed colony a different perspective on reality. Now linked together, Those perspectives combined into something greater. All ships, this is Captain Chen. Sarah broadcast across the network. The enemy exists between dimensions, but together we can see the whole of reality. Coordinate your attacks not just in space, but through all the layers of existence your civilizations have learned to perceive. The response was immediate. The desert dwellers of Proxima saw heat signatures bleeding through dimensional barriers. The ice miners of Titan detected gravitational anomalies that revealed the enemy's true positions. The deep space-adapted humans of Carina recognized patterns in radiation that exposed dimensional weak points. Artemis's voice rang through the network. Now, children of Earth, show them why they feared us. The combined human fleet attacked as one. Ships moved in formations that transcended normal space, their weapons targeting not just the shadow ship's physical forms, but their very existence across dimensions. The enemy's greatest advantage became their weakness as humanity's diverse perceptions laid bare their every hiding place. They're pulling back, Rodriguez reported. Not just retreating. They're trying to seal off their dimension from ours. They'll try this again, Walsh warned. In another 50,000 years, or 100,000. As long as they exist in any dimension, they'll be a threat. Sarah felt the agreement of thousands of minds through the network. No, she said, this ends now. All ships, prepare for dimensional pursuit. We're finishing this war our ancestors started. The horizon's crystalline components hummed as they reconfigured for trans-dimensional travel. Around them, ships of every human design, organic, mechanical, energy-based, and forms that defied classification, did the same. They had been seeded across the galaxy, forced to forget their past, but that dispersal had given them strengths their ancestors never imagined. All ships ready, Rodriguez confirmed. The enemy's running out of dimensions to hide in. Sarah looked at her bridge crew, seeing the same determination in their eyes that she felt burning in her soul. Send word to Earth, she commanded. Tell them everything. It's time for all of humanity to remember who we are and what we can become. Message sent, Dr. Tanaka confirmed. And Sarah, they're responding. Earth remembers too. The reset protocols are breaking down. They're awakening. Through the neural network, Sarah felt the joy and wonder as Earth's population began to remember their true heritage. The beacons they had activated were working globally now, restoring knowledge that had been locked in human DNA for 50 millennia. All ships prepare for dimensional shift, Sarah ordered. The enemy forced us to forget our past. Now let's show them our future. The massive fleet shifted in ways reality was never meant to bend, pursuing their ancient enemy across the boundaries of existence. But this time, humanity wasn't fighting for survival. They were fighting to ensure that never again would anyone threaten the species that had turned 50,000 years of enforced amnesia into an advantage. The war that followed would be fought across dimensions and realities, changing the very nature of existence. But its outcome was never in doubt. Humanity had not just survived its dissolution. It had transcended it, united again, combining technologies and perspectives from 100,000 different paths of evolution. They were more than their ancestors had ever been. The enemy had tried to destroy humanity by scattering it across the stars. Instead, they had created something far greater than the civilization they had feared. Through hardship and separation, humanity had become something new, a species that could see all of reality, adapt to any challenge, and face any threat. As the fleet vanished into dimensional space, Sarah sent one final message to Earth. We remember. We return. We rise. The age of humanity's forgetting was over. The age of humanity's ascension had begun.